Right, right.
When you want your child to have a relationship with Jesus on the unmarried side, and you know, yeah, on the unmarried side, and you want your child to have a relationship with Jesus, again, you kind of have to be that example, and you have to find those moments where if you are somebody who prays, there's nothing wrong with inviting your child to see that. There's nothing wrong with praying with your child.
Yeah.
Even in the hard times, there's nothing wrong with letting your child know, hey, daddy's having a vulnerable moment or a weak moment right now, but God.
Amen.
And, um, yeah, and I never liked crying in front of my daughter, but she saw it.
Yeah.
And I explained to her how I'm able to make it through. I didn't like having dark moments while my child was there,
Right, right.
but she was privy to it.
Yeah.
And I explained to her how I was able to make it through.
Yeah, that's good. Because even primarily, it's not the church responsibility to church teach a child about Jesus. I know I mentioned what my parents tried to do
Mm-hmm.
by sending us to different churches. Like I said, it's a single mother that was trying.
Mm-hmm.
But I think fathers, men, we should not use that as an excuse. Like, I'm too
Yeah.
busy
Yeah.
to, I'd rather, because that spiritual piece, I like how you said you got to capture those moments.
Mm-hmm.
Because God will even put us in these positions to have these moments with our children.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes next, they just take off and they age.
Yeah.
And we be like, man, I missed that opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Even my dad, he even said, when he found out I gave my life to the Lord many years ago, he was like, because he was never there in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, who taught you about Jesus? Like, I guess he felt bad, like he never been
Mm-hmm.
there in my life. Like, it kind of like got to him.
Yeah.
So primarily, it is the parent's responsibility
Mm-hmm.
to teach
Yeah.
your child about Jesus. And then those are added bonuses to go to worship, Bible studies, all
Yeah.
those add-ons.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
All of
that's
them
what
are
I would,
add-ons, and
yeah.
then when a child is young, that becomes routine.
Yeah.
Are the lessons sinking in? And as a father, to kind of shift the responsibility from the church to in the house to the
Hmm.
parents, you know, as a father, like we're called to be the priest over our home. And, again, I'm not perfect. By a long shot. I'm not perfect. It's one of those things that I do want to do on a more consistent basis. I'm grateful that my two girls had the wherewithal to say, what he said
Mm.
in this moment made sense. Maybe I should give my life to Christ. Okay. That's all well and good, but what if they were different? What if they were
Yeah.
different types
Yeah.
of people? You know, yeah. So being called to be the priest, it doesn't have to be as challenging as you think. It can be very simple,
Yeah.
and I think for me, because I'm an overthinker, I overcomplicate
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
Being honest.
Right.
And how are they going to respond if I do? What if I do? No, I can't do that. What if
Right.
I say this wrong? They they're kids.
Yeah.
They're The time that you spend with them trying to break down something is going to be appreciated, whether you know it or not.
Right. Right.
It's going to be appreciated, and those things are going to sink in because just a little piece of time that I was able to study, with my kids, God illuminated something unto them
Yeah.
from, I would like to say, from the seed that I planted, uh, but I would feel that,
Yeah.
and I'm glad that our girls made that decision. Um, but yeah, it definitely doesn't have to be as complicated. You don't need a whole formula for doing it. It's
Yeah.
simply saying, okay, maybe you can even, as a dad, maybe you can even look at where you are in your study, maybe things that you would want to study, things that you would want your kids to know about Jesus. Hey, okay, let's crack this open. I want to show y'all something.
Yeah.
Because our kids for the longest time are like, oh, the Bible is boring, this, and this. And me and my wife kind of looked at each other like, y'all have no
No
idea
idea.